What's up, my seedy little pomegranates? This is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Daily Grind, we're back with another installment of Rob Reads You Shit that you probably don't want to read yourself. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this was not the video that I thought I was gonna be doing. In fact, I have one rendering in the background, but this popped up and I was like, oh boy, I'm excited for this one, because as you can see, DE Bear posted up Devworkshop revisiting augments. So we're getting augment reworks? Okay, let's get into it. Swazdula Offworlder. As we relook at systems within the game, there's one aspect that we haven't touched in a while, and those are the augments. As new augments and new gameplay systems make their way into the game, the older augments need some attention. Yes! And so the team has been assessing what we have and how they can possibly change. It should be noted that some augments are tied to abilities that see very little use, such as Pool of Life. However, these will be looked at later on when those same abilities are considered for a rework. For now, the workshop only covers augments that we felt we could improve fairly without a major overhaul of the base ability as well. They are augments after all. This dev workshop is to go over the various augments that we are looking at and are considered changes to each one. So without further ado, let's take a look at what is under the microscope. Keep in mind, all changes here are impacted by other mods. This is just the proposed changes to the augments themselves. So I haven't actually taken a look at what they've proposed, so I'm kind of excited. This is going to be a little bit of a reaction as well, so let's take a look. We have Hysterical Assault. So for those of you guys who don't know, this is the one where you can, I think it's like right click or something and like attack, and it'll launch you to an enemy that's like within 30 meters. So this is like her gap closer ability. But which, by the way, if we're talking about Melee 3.0, which, where the fuck did Melee 3.0 go? We're gonna have built-in gap closers to those, so that's a good way to kind of like change things up. Let invulnerability linger for half a second when aiming to prevent getting downed immediately in high damage areas. Increase the range. Wait, what? What do you mean let invulnerability linger for a half second when aiming to prevent getting downed immediately in high damage areas? Doesn't Hysteria make you invulnerable? I don't know exactly why it wouldn't. This makes no sense to me and is kind of weird and kind of makes me worry that they're gonna do something to Hysteria to make you not have invulnerability anymore. I'm just putting that out there. Feels very, very strange that they mentioned let invulnerability linger. Okay, now I'm kind of worried. I was excited a second ago. Now I'm not so excited. Rising Storm Blade Storm Augment Ash. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, I believe this adds ticks onto your combo counter, if I'm correct. But attacks by clones will raise the combo counter. Yep. Included a passive benefit to extend the combo counter by a duration. That sounds like it's good. It's kind of like Wukong's old passive, and will definitely kind of help Rising Storm be more effective, especially if you're running a melee Ashe. Not that I play Ashe very much, so don't take me as an Ashe expert. Moving along, we have Titanic Rumbler. Increase the damage. Titanic Rumbler is basically you make one big rumbler instead of two rumblers, but they increase the damage and speed, and re-triggering the power will activate the taunt as well as cause a knockdown effect. Okay, that's definitely kind of useful. I'm into that. Now, if only other Warframes could get taunt abilities too, or have their taunt abilities actually taunt. I'm just saying Wukong Defy, please. Then we have Hallowed Eruption. So this one, I believe you're able to set down hallowed ground and then recast it to make it explode and deal damage, which I never really wanted my hallowed ground to explode and deal damage. I like to keep it where it is. But they have an additional passive ability that triples the base duration. I don't know. I don't know if I would use it still. So next up is Furious Javelin, and if I'm going to be honest with you, I had to go and look it up real quick because I've never actually legitimately used this. I might have tried it out for a video in the past, but it really did not capture my attention. But basically you get bonus damage for melee for every enemy that you hit with your Furious Javelin. So they increase the duration and the damage on the buff, which is nice and might actually make me consider using it. But it really depends on how much damage they're going to give you and how long the duration is right now. Because I think maxed out, they have it at 12 seconds, which I don't really know. Anyway, moving along, we have Tidal Impunity, which is Tidal Surge for Hydroid. Now, this one actually goes ahead and will clear the status off of your allies and give them status immunity for the duration of the buff, but it looks like they have increased the duration of the immunity buff, which is always welcome. It's not really a mod that I would use too much, but if you're really trying to play support or if there's a very specific reason that you need to use this, then that's good, I guess. Listen, the more, I will take whatever buffs you want to give me, is what I'm trying to say. Then we have Magnetized Discharge, and this is the Magnetized Augment for Mag, and basically you're able to recast Magnetize on a bubble that you already have, which will cause it to detonate, and the detonation has a chance of disarming surrounding enemies. So what they actually did is they included a passive benefit that increases the power range for this ability only. So basically, you'll probably get bigger magnetized bubbles and a bigger radial discharge chance. The only thing that kind of sucks about this is one of the, I guess I would say, things that are irksome is that when it comes to nullifiers, they tend to make your bubbles go away, and that's kind of like one of the most painful parts. So if you have a bubble that's of bigger range, that might not necessarily be the best, because then nullifiers will be able to nullify it from further away. Now, if they just made the discharge part, like the area of effect explosion parts, which can disarm enemies, a bigger AoE, then I think that might be good. But listen, I'm sure that there are other mag mains out there that would happily chime in on this one. Next up, we have Muzzle Flash, which is Shooting Gallery Augment by Mesa. And this one is the one that basically does area of effect blind whenever Shooting Gallery transfers to your next ally. And this is basically for kills made by a player, self or ally, with Shooting Gallery activated, generate a blinding AoE when the threshold is met. So it sounds like there's going to be a certain threshold, and every time that that ally has that, it's going to be blinding. This might be something very interesting, because a blinding, let's be real, does Mesa really need anything else? I mean, we'll see how good this is, because it does sound like a pretty big change since the fact that kills will literally generate all of these blinds. I'm just gonna say, now Mesa can also tank, deal damage, and blind. I don't know. We have Explosive Ledgermain, which is one of my favorites, by the way. If you guys have not checked out my Explosive Ledgermain build for Mirage, I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link up in the corner for you guys to check it out. Love using it in what do you call this? Certain types of escalation missions, like literally for, what is it called? Interceptions. I love it because you can just leave all of those ammo things on the ground and just have them become this like CC for you. Don't ever look at it as damage. Just look at it as like slows and stuns. It's really, really fun that way. If you look at it like that, she can actually have some nice, interesting facets of CC. So increased damage and status chance when triggered. I'll take it. Total Eclipse. Eclipse Augment from Mirage. Increase range on the buff to other players, which is fucking nice, because let's be real, that buff, you literally had to be standing on top of Mirage. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that would love to stand right on top of Mirage, but I'm saying that it's nice just in case you need a little personal space, right? Moving along. We have Piercing Roar, Roar Augment Rhino. Now, this one I'm really interested in, man. Allow Roar to be recast when equipped. Awesome. Oh! Wait, what? So, oh, this is Piercing Roar. I thought this was the Piercing Armor. Okay. Never mind. Increased debuff duration based on equipped mods, which is nice. So, for those of you guys who don't know, Piercing status effects reduce damage by 30%, I believe, from enemies. So having that also debuff them even further is kind of a nice bonus. And then generate a stagger effect on enemies when Roar hits. So a little bit of CC, a further debuff, and being able to recast Roar is definitely nice, because sometimes you cast Roar and it doesn't hit everybody in your team and you're like, what are you doing with your life? I'm trying to buff you. So it's nice for the helpful rhinos out there. We have Contagion Cloud. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. I believe that I call Saren's Toxic Lash. It was hard for me to get out because I still can't say Toxic Lash. Contagion more often than I've called it Toxic Lash. So when I see Contagion Cloud, it kind of brings me back. But allow the buff to activate when the enemy is killed by damage over time effects. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. General increase on a range and damage. So for those of you guys who don't know, anything that is killed under the effects of Toxic Lash, basically they leave a little gas cloud. So of course this was improved basically because of the fact that Toxic Lash, aka Contagion, which is the real name for it, was being able to be applied on all weapons. But the range of those clouds are so teensy tiny. So if you could make it at least a little bit more effective and then let it be increased by range mods, like let it be affected, because last time I checked it was not affected by range mods and it was like 3 meters. So maybe give us 5 meters and then let it be affected by range. Just putting that out there into the universe. And then they did a general increase in range and damage. Yes, we got that. So I might check that one out a little bit, because I do like me a little bit of that throwback. We have Transistor Shield, which is the electric shield augment for Volt, which allows your allies to pick up your shields. So no additional energy drain when a shield is picked up by another player. Thank you. And they increase the damage conversion. I will take it. Thank you. Not that I use Volt very much, but listen, a buff's a buff. Target fixation. Oh, this augment was shit. This is the shittest, one of the shittest augments there is. Let me put that out there. So target fixation allowed Tailwind to deal more damage as it hit more enemies. But the key about it is you cannot hit the ground. When you hit the ground, the buff resets. It was bad. I was thoroughly disgusted. I was dégoûté. But they said remove buff after 2 seconds of being off the ground instead of immediately, and damage increased per target hit. It's still kind of trash. I'm just gonna put that out there. I still feel like it's kind of like, no thank you. But that's just my own personal feelings on that. For all of the Zephyr mains out there, are you excited about target fixation buffs? And then we have Fireball, Frenzy, Freeze Force, Smite Infusion, Venom Dose, Shock Trooper. So all of these are the elemental buffs that you can toss on your allies from these Warframes. You can see the names right down there. I'll do a little bit of scrolling so you can see it better. But holding the casting button will send out a wave. Much similar expanding Warframe abilities, giving the elemental buff to every player it touches, including the caster. I mean, that sounds fine. I can't judge any of that. That sounds like it's a nice little, it's a nice little quality of life improvements. Now, please be aware during these process, tweaks and changes will be made to these alterations provided. We are always open to your feedback. So if you have any thoughts on the proposed changes above, like maybe just changing target fixation completely because it's trash. Sorry. We would love to hear your comments in the forum thread. Please make sure you keep your feedback constructive and concise so we can better compile your thoughts. AKA, don't call the augments trash and say that they need to start from scratch like I just did. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down in the description box below to the forum thread itself so that you guys can go ahead and leave your feedback. And do me a huge favor. If we're going to talk about these augments, let's keep it to these augments down in the comments below, because I know that a lot of people love to spill out their life story in novel form about what augments they would change, and then they go off on different tangents to let's change this augment too, and then they go into let's create a whole nother augment, and then it becomes a whole saga in the comment section. So let's just keep it contained to these specific augments. If you think they're good, if you think they're bad, what would it take for you to be able to use them? And does the whole Valkyr thing kind of worry you a little bit? Let invulnerability linger for half a second when aiming. I don't know. I'm feeling a little Anyway, that's gonna do it for me for now. Toss all of your feelings down in the comments below, but let's keep it below saga length, okay? And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!